So, for our third lesson Old Norse, I will try something different. Let's see if it works. Trust me, though it might seem odd at first, we are still very likely to use the same words the Viking did in our everyday speech. Their language evolved into the modern-day Scandinavian languages, but they also gave English the gift of hundreds of words. So, let me tell you a short story of Einar. Einar woke before dawn and stepped out of his husbond's longhouse. He checked the loft where the egg and the kaka had been stored overnight. A thin mist lay over the flat field, and the moor smelled faintly of rotting weeds. As a Felagi and Bur neighbor, Einar kept a small plågru, a raptor, and a bucking for market. Today he planned to take his wares to the market. A bundle of skurta, a muge, a small skull, and a coil of band. He slung the band across his back and checked the nutre twice. On the way he met a gestr named Thora, who was returning from the fjord with a kjörl, splinter, and a loaf of steak wrapped in cloth. She greeted him with a slow wave of her hand and a laugh that made the little Freknor on her nose dance. "You look aloft," she teased. Einar grinned and repressed a smile because he was, in truth, worried about the alarm he still owed to the husbondi at the next village. At the market, Einar found the usual bustle. Buyers hagging over bulki and kaka, a lat chased a kid, and a farmer's bolly lowered near his stall. A thrall carried a heavy oxel, while a woman displayed a lofi and a cruel helinker of chain. When Einar set down his goods, a trader tried to snooper him, but Einar kept his temper. No sense in stirring angre where thrift and sala were at stake. Einar's favorite customer was old Sigrid, who had the skill to tell a good piece of cloth from a poor one at a glance. She examined his skirta, ran a hand along the seam, then smiled. "You have get better at your trade," she said, tapping the band with her finger. She paid him in coin and offered a small loan against his raptor if he needed it. After the market, a boy came running with news. A ripple of smoke bulged from the eastern rise. Einar hurried toward it and found that a neighbor's loft had caught fire. Men ran to haul buckets. Someone tried to kunda a controlled burn to stop the flames, but the wind made the matter worse. A man staggered under a beam and nearly fell. A woman screamed in agony and then sobbed. They worked together to drag the burning scrub away from the house and to beat down the spark with blankets. Einar used his muge to carry water, and the fell rolled a heavy klubba into place to prop a door. By evening, the worst of the fire had been beaten out, but the family's seti and the prized skull were lost. The neighbor sighed and thanked Einar for his help. On the walk home, Einar thought about work and want. He had to rytja the field of stones before the next ploughing. He had to raise the little fence and to fix a louse hinge on his windauger. He felt a small brick of urkia, and how much remained to do. But the sight of children scupper along the lane made him smile. One of them had a small toy boat, an exact copy of the larger raptor he kept, and the child pretended it was a Vikinger, shouting orders to an invisible crew. And at night, by the hearth, the household shared a modest meal. They ate egg and leftover steak, washed down with gravy in a bowl. Einar's wife polished a small heirloom, a helinkre that had once fastened a baggin to a plogre. She hummed a saga about a hero who had gone berserker in a battle and then returned home gentle as a child. The children listened wide-eyed. A trader from the coast arrived that evening, a slogger fellow who always tried to ransack the pockets of the unwary. He had a small set of tools, an oxel, a kjörl spike, an old skull, and a worn skur. For a while, the trader and Einar bartered, and Einar put on a show of confidence. He knew when to kjasa his words and when to give a concession. He did not plundra into a bad deal. Later, Einar's young neighbor came to ask for a little land, so he might buy a proper kniver to replace his broken one. Einar considered, then nodded. A small land was better than forging an enemy. The lad promised to return the coin after the harvest. They clasped hands like true villagi and agreed on a day for repayment. Winter came, and the gustre from the sea grew stronger. Snow gathered on the roof, and the children tied small bundles to their sleds. There celebrated Yule with a modest feast, singing about Thor and the sea and the old tales, but even the Alfru at the end of the long bench feel proud. Throughout the seasons, Einar met trouble, a skada to his ankle that made his father limp for a time, a brief illness that left him weaker, and a theft where a sneak tried to snare his tools. But there were quiet rewards, the steady growth of his girth, the happy laughter of his children, and the small practical joys of a life held by luck and bullock, by thrift, saving, and neighborly skill. A year later, standing at the shore, Einar watched a skatta leap and a hreinduri in a distant pen. He felt a calm that had nothing to do with the chaotic battles of distant saga. He was content to be a simple husbandi, to fix the windauga when it rattled, to mend the strap where the bund had worn, to keep his word when offering a lan, and to tell the old stories at Yule. On market days, he still sold a few things, a boulder to the children, a scrap of clove to the trader, a skull to the neighbor, but mostly he treasured the small invisible traits. A hand resa to help a four men, a word to keep a lot from making an unwise bargain, and many tiny acts by which people in a village bind themselves together. trust, thrift, and the steady work of daily life. When Einar finally sat by the fire in old age, with a host of Fregnor on his grandchildren's faces and a warm copy of a saga on his knee, he thought only of simple things. The feel of a good nutre, the sound of a child's laugh, the taste of kaka, and the knowledge that a life built by luck, by vilagi, and by steady labors, blogru, mending, reza, and sharing, was no small thing.